Welcome to Ln space where sigma dx over dt applies when t equals 1 equals 0. Where energy is infinite limitless in flux yet remains the same trans-dimensional constant and abundant. We summarize this as real, behold, the light.
I just purchased this on an online auction. It's a Crosley CR10 jukebox, similar to what you used to get when you went into diners back in the 60s and 70s. Often in the booths that they had these things there, and you'd put your coins in, and then you'd make your selection, and if no one else had songs ahead of you, well, then you get to listen to your music. But generally speaking, if the music was playing, you didn't put anything in here until music stopped, because if the diner was doing pretty good and a lot of people put selections in, you might be listening to your selections as after you'd finish your dinner and were going out the door. So you know, if you were the only one in the restaurant, you could put whatever selections and enjoy your dinner with your own music. Now what I have to do, I've determined using this and an MP3 player, okay, that the electronics still work. It's just that in the tape deck, all the belts are gone. That's what happens with cassette tape decks, is that the belts all die after a while, and you know, you have to go in and do major surgery. So the bulbs don't work, okay, and the deck doesn't work. The radio kind of works. The radio is down in here. On a lot of these, you see them advertised, and this part here is long gone. It's broken off, and so really I was concerned that I had all the bare bones and everything, because you know, when it comes to the guts, I can change this all out from ever being a cassette tape machine and putting in MP3, putting in all sorts of new stuff. But part of the fun of collecting these now becoming antique imitation jukeboxes, or I think in their own right they are a form of jukebox, is to get them going originally. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tear it down now, and I'm going to go through some of the work with you. I'm not going to show you taking all the screws out individually. I think that's a bit boring, and you kind of know how to screw yourself. Did that come out right? Okay. You know how to do the screwing and unscrewing without me. Yeah, okay. Okay, we'll get into it in just a moment. Okay, so I got the CR10 stripped down, and as you can see, there are the parts right there. And now I'm down to the meat and potatoes, as it were. Now this isn't really a job for the faint-hearted. It takes a bit of time to get it right, and you need the parts. And parts are sort of like uninventium. For instance, the light bulbs that they used to use were these light bulbs from back in the 70s, 80s. And they are a difficult little commodity to find. As you can see, this one, it wasn't made black, it just got very hot, and it died from overheating. The other thing is that when you look at the view window here, and you go to the top where the bulbs were situated, you see that that little bulb started to burn its way through the top of the view window. And at one point in time, these two nubs here, if you look at them, okay, the sockets went in there, and they took some form of an E10 bulb, I think, probably. But they went cheap and they didn't install the sockets, and they just laid them up on top of here with a little metal clip. And of course, when they touched, they started to melt the plastic. Bit of a fire hazard, not really a good idea, but that's what they did. You can get a type of bulb now. It's different from the original bulb, but it will work, and it's exactly the same rating. And it's important that you keep the same ratings on these bulbs, because a circuit will only put out the amount of power that it sees. And so if you put a 12-volt bulb in there, chances are you'd heat something up on the circuit board and you'd have a calamity that's not fixable. So these are the same type bulbs. They're not Christmas tree bulbs, and you have to go to a specialist supplier to get these, and they're really expensive. Okay, the next thing you'll see down here on the deck is that the belts are gone. Now, the first thing that I did when I got this was I took my tester here. It looks like a tape cassette, but what it really does is it touches the electronic head, and it speaks to it electronically. And you can either connect up on the small end here, you can connect up a radio, an MP3 player, something like that. And when we talk about MP3 players, this is the one that I use, that I test my circuits with. And I just plug this in like so, bung this in the machine, and I can tell immediately whether it's a mechanical or an electrical fault. In this case, this turned out to be a mechanical fault, and as you can see, the belts are missing. What happens is that the belts, like this, they're 1mm flat belts, and they have to be a specific size for a specific tension, and you don't want to put them on too tight or too loose. They have to be just right. These, over the course of 10-15 years, all cassette decks that were ever made that I'm aware of all had these belts. And you can't buy an individual belt. You have to buy these in packs of 50 belts, and there might be, let's say, 5 of these, 5 of another size, da-da-da-da-da. And for this deck, I had the sizes in this pack so that I could repair the deck. Of course, if this is the only deck that I was repairing, then it's coming out to about $10 a belt, which is pricey. But if I hit 10 that I'm repairing, then it of course comes out to $2 a belt. So in fitting the belt, we know it's a 1mm belt, and it comes on the pulley like so. Okay. But when it comes to the length of the belt that's going to give the right amount of stretch, it's good to take something like a nail. And you see where the nail touches the center of the drive pulley? Okay, this belt is long enough. Any shorter and it would be stretching the belt. Any longer and the belt would slip. So what we do now is we just put the belt on. There we go. Everything's correct. So now what I'll do is I'll insert a tape. Because this isn't encased in anything and I don't want to get an electric shock, I have the machine switched off. There, now it's on. Okay, so now let's watch how this works. So that's that working. And the belts, I think they just have to bed in a bit better. And if I come over here and I trick the machine, there we go. Now turn it back on. There, those belts are now moving a lot more smoothly on there. It was just they were riding funny on the pulleys. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two circuits here and I'm going to put the lights on. And so now I have just installed the bulbs, and when I turn the machine on, there we go. There are the bulbs. Nice and bright. And the tape deck working. Okay, now it's time to put her all back together. Well, now she's all finished, and I've already tested her, so there's no big suspense there. But let's see. I'm going to put on a B-52's tape. Okay, this is a tape by the B-52s, so I'm not plagiarizing their music. And what I'll do is, first off, I'll turn it on. That's still a bit scratchy, but I can fix that in a little while. So you saw the lights all come on in here. And we put the tape in easily, like, there. So I use the B-52s to demonstrate that it's all up and working now. And there it is, a vintage replica jukebox. It is a jukebox in its own right. And these now are starting to get a certain status. Working ones are hard to find. Be aware that the belts, the drive belts, are going to be over 20 years old, and hence they don't have much life left in them. Having the tape deck out mechanically is not the end of the world, but you know, when that's out and the lights are out and a few other things don't work quite the way they should, well, okay, that's when you have to go in and repair it. So as I say, you buy one that's someone's kept in a box and it's brand new if you can't repair it, or you need to find somebody like me who'll repair it for you at a huge cost. All right. Well, thanks, and stay tuned for the next one that I'm going to repair.